A stranger yanks me into a car, claiming he saved me from my son's deadly plot. I thought he was insane until he showed me proof, my own flesh and blood, plotting my murder for money. Betrayal cut deeper than any knife, but this old man's not done yet. By day's end, arrests will shatter my family forever. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you are listening in the comments. The March sun hit my face as I stepped out of Morrison and Associates on Calhoun Street, squinting at my phone screen. 3 missed calls from the shop, but they could wait. My knees protested the concrete steps, 63 years of living catching up with me. That's when the dark sedan screeched to a stop beside me, its door flying open before the tires stopped smoking. Strong hands grabbed my shoulders, yanking me sideways. My body reacted before my mind caught up. Years of growing up in Detroit's East Side kicked in. I drove my elbow hard into someone's ribs, heard a grunt, reached for the door handle. The car lurched forward, throwing me against worn leather seats. My reading glasses clattered to the floor. "Stop fighting, old man!" The driver, white guy, maybe 50, built like an ex-cop, blocked my reach for the door with one thick arm while steering with the other. His aftershave mixed with stale coffee breath, making my stomach turn. I cataloged details automatically. Indiana plates, starting with 47. Leather seats with a tear near the window. Dashboard clock reading 12:17. The street signs blurred past. We were heading north on Clinton, away from downtown. My suit jacket had torn at the shoulder during the struggle, the sound of ripping fabric somehow making this real. The driver reached into his jacket with his free hand, and I tensed for a weapon. Instead, he pulled out a badge. Coleman Investigations, Roger Coleman, licensed private investigator. "Mr. Harrison, stop fighting. I just saved your life." He caught my eyes in the rearview mirror. "Your son hired someone to cut your brake lines." My heart hammered against my ribs. "You're insane. Michael wouldn't what? Murder his father for insurance money?" Roger pulled a tablet from between the seats, keeping one eye on traffic. "Watch this." The video played on a cracked screen. Fuzzy security footage from Tony's auto shop on Wells Street. I recognized Michael immediately. His grandmother's proud walk, my father's broad shoulders. He handed an envelope to Brett Miller, that mechanic who'd been fired from 3 shops for theft. They stood by a diagram on the wall, Michael pointing at what looked like brake system schematics. Brett nodded, counted bills from the envelope. The timestamp read March 14th, 2025. Yesterday, 11:47 p.m. My mouth went dry. I knew that gesture Michael made when he was explaining something important, the same one he'd used as a kid showing me his baseball cards, the way he tilted his head when he was being serious. This was my son, my only child, planning to kill me. "I need to call him." My voice came out steady, surprising me. Roger pulled into a Marriott parking lot off Washington Boulevard. "Go ahead, but don't let on, you know." My hands trembled as I dialed. 40 years of running Harrison Construction, negotiating with contractors and unions, and my fingers shook calling my own son. "Hey, Dad." Michael's voice was warm, casual. "Everything good? I tried calling earlier." "Just checking in." I forced lightness into my tone. "Everything okay at the shop?" Yeah. Some inventory issues with the lumber shipment. Johnson's crew is behind schedule again." Smooth lies delivered with practiced ease. The same voice that used to say, "I love you, Dad," at bedtime. "You coming by later?" "Maybe tomorrow. Got some paperwork to finish." "Cool. Hey, Dad, drive safe, okay? These roads are getting worse with all the construction." Drive safe. The bastard actually said, "drive safe." I ended the call and stared at the phone screen showing his contact photo. Both of us at his wedding 5 years ago, before the divorce, before whatever darkness had taken hold of him. Roger's weathered face studied me from the driver's seat. "Your ex-daughter-in-law hired me, Sarah. She noticed Michael asking about your life insurance policies, your will. Started putting pieces together when he asked her about your daily routine, when you'd be driving alone." Sarah. Sweet Sarah, who still sent me Christmas cards even after Michael cheated on her. She'd saved my life, while my own blood planned to end it. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across Roger's face, highlighting deep lines around his eyes. There's more. Casino debts, loan sharks. He's in deep, about 280 grand. Been forging your signature on business loans. Each word landed like a punch. The construction company I'd built from nothing, that I'd planned to leave to him. He was destroying it before I was even dead. Roger pulled into a parking spot. "You can't go home. He'll try again." I looked at the hotel entrance, then back at the video, still frozen on Michael's face. Something cold and hard crystallized in my chest, replacing the shock. If my son wanted to play games with death, I'd teach him the rules. The student was about to learn why his father survived 63 years in this world. Michael had awakened something that should have stayed buried, the young man from Detroit who'd fought for everything he had. "Get me a room," I said, opening the car door, "and keep that meter running." The hotel room smelled like industrial carpet cleaner and broken dreams. 8 p.m. according to the bedside clock. I'd been pacing for 20 minutes, wearing a path between the window and the bathroom door. The rage had come first, hot and blinding, making me want to drive straight to Michael's apartment and confront him. Then came the denial, my mind scrambling for innocent explanations. Now, something else entirely filled me, cold, calculated, patient. I stopped pacing, stood perfectly still in the middle of that sterile room. If he wants to play games with death, I'll teach him the rules. Roger had spread documents across the bed like evidence at a crime scene. Casino markers from the Rising Star, sworn statements from bookies, threatening texts from people with names like Tommy Fish and Brooklyn Mike. The receipts painted a clear picture, 18 months of spiraling desperation. Sports betting had started it, $5,000 on the Colts, 10 on a sure-thing boxing match that wasn't. Then poker rooms, high-stakes games he couldn't afford, borrowing from one shark to pay another. $280,000 total. My son had signed his own death warrant for less than the cost of a house. "This one's interesting," Roger pointed to a business loan application. My signature at the bottom, except I'd never seen this document. He's been practicing, getting better at it. I studied the forgery. Close, but the W in Walter was wrong, too sharp at the peak. A detail only I would notice. How many of these had gone through? How long had he been bleeding my company while planning to inherit what was left? My phone vibrated. Marcus, my lawyer, returning my call. "Walter, got your message. What's this about emergency estate planning?" "Put me on speaker. Roger needs to hear this." I sat on the edge of the bed, suddenly feeling all of my 63 years. Someone's trying to kill me for my inheritance. I need options. Marcus didn't miss a beat. 30 years of practice in family law had prepared him for everything. First, we establish an irrevocable trust, transfer all assets immediately, name a charitable beneficiary if needed. I can have papers drawn up by morning. What about evidence requirements for attempted murder charges? Video evidence, witness testimony, physical evidence of tampering. You'd need at least 2 of the 3 for prosecutors to move forward. Indiana's tough on conspiracy charges, though. Even planning it carries 15 to 25 years. I took notes on hotel stationery, my handwriting steady despite everything. Can I maintain a facade? Keep someone thinking they're still in the will while changing everything? Technically, yes. The trust documents would be sealed. They wouldn't know until they needed to know. Perfect. Let Michael think his plan could still work. Let him believe his father was still the trusting fool who'd spoiled him his whole life. After Marcus hung up, Roger pulled out a small duffel bag. "We need to visit your house tonight, get documents, install some insurance of our own. Michael has security cameras. Cheap ones from Amazon, but still. I know, disabled them remotely an hour ago. He'll think it was a power surge." 2 a.m. We approached my house from the back alley, using shadows I'd never noticed before. The spare key was still under the 3rd flower pot. Some habits die hard. The door opened silently, WD-40 having solved that squeak months ago. My home felt foreign in the darkness. Pictures on the walls I couldn't see but knew by heart. Michael's graduation, his Little League championship, the construction company's first big contract. All lies now. The safe was behind my father's portrait in the study. Inside, birth certificates, the original deed to the company, my real will leaving everything to Michael. I photographed each document, then Roger replaced them with expertly crafted fakes, close enough to pass casual inspection. Cameras go here, here, and here. Roger worked efficiently, tiny devices disappearing into smoke detectors and air vents. Full audio, night vision, motion activated. A car engine growled outside. We froze. Headlights swept across the living room wall. Michael's Challenger. I'd helped him buy it last year. The engine idled for 30 seconds, then moved on. Routine check or coincidence? My heart hammered as we pressed against the hallway wall. "He's getting paranoid," Roger whispered. "Good. Paranoid people make mistakes." We gathered what we needed: financial records, the real business documents, my passport. Every movement deliberate, leaving no trace. This was my home for 20 years, and I moved through it like a thief. Back at the hotel by 4 a.m., I spread the retrieved documents across the desk, really seeing the extent of Michael's betrayal. He had already transferred $40,000 from the business account. Payroll would bounce next week if I didn't act. My employees, good people who had worked for me for years, would suffer for his greed. Roger demonstrated the surveillance app on his tablet, crystal clear views of my living room, kitchen, hallway. He'll never know. You can watch him when he visits, record everything. "What about Brett Miller?" I asked. "The mechanic. Weak link, 2 strikes on his record, can't afford a third. He'll flip for immunity." I stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror. The man looking back had my face, but stranger's eyes. Cold, calculating, patient. This wasn't about anger anymore. It was about justice, balance, teaching a lesson that would last a lifetime, however long that might be. My phone buzzed. Text from Michael. "Dad, want to grab lunch tomorrow? Been too long." I typed back, "Sounds great, son. Noon at Murphy's?" "Perfect. Love you, Dad." Love you, Dad. 3 words that used to mean everything. Now they were just another lie, another manipulation. But I could play this game. I'd built my company from nothing, survived in a world that hadn't wanted me to succeed. My son thought he was clever, but cleverness without wisdom was just another form of stupidity. He'd forgotten who taught him everything he knew, but not everything I knew. Roger was on his phone, setting something up. "I've got 3 guys who can start surveillance tomorrow. Former cops, discreet." "Whatever it costs," I said, not recognizing my own voice. He chose this war. Time he learned that wars have casualties. The sun was rising over Fort Wayne, painting the sky the color of old blood. Somewhere in this city, my son was probably sleeping peacefully, dreaming of insurance money and easy solutions. Let him sleep. Let him dream. Reality would come soon enough, served at the proper legal temperature, cold, calculated, and inescapable. The game had begun, and I'd already won. Michael just didn't know he was playing yet. March 20th, 6 in the morning. 4 days had passed since I'd signed my son's professional death warrant in that sterile hotel room. Now, I stood in my own driveway, keys cold in my hand, practicing the smile I'd worn for 63 years. The one that said everything was fine, even when the world was burning. The construction company's logo on the building seemed to mock me. Harrison and Son. What a joke. My phone showed the camera feeds from inside, Michael already at his desk, hunched over paperwork. Dark circles shadowed his eyes. Good. Let him lose sleep wondering why his murder plot failed. I straightened my tie, checked my expression in the car's side mirror one more time. Time to become the greatest actor of my life. "Morning, son. Beautiful day, isn't it?" I pushed through the office door with manufactured enthusiasm, watching his head snap up. That micro flinch, barely visible, but I caught it. 30 years of reading contractors' faces during negotiations had taught me to spot tells. Michael's jaw tightened before he forced it to relax. "Dad, you're early." His fingers drummed against his desk, a nervous habit from childhood. "You weren't home this weekend. I stopped by." "Of course you did. Probably checking if I died in my sleep." "Fishing trip with Marcus Bradley from college. Remember him? Needed to clear my head after all that estate planning nonsense the lawyer insisted on." I set my keys on the desk, deliberately casual, and noticed Michael's eyes track the movement. Looking for new keys? Evidence of a rental car while mine was being repaired? Catch anything? His voice strained for normalcy. "Just a sunburn and some peace of mind." I pulled out my phone, swiped to photos Roger had staged. Me holding a base by a lake, big smile, very much alive. Marcus hasn't changed, still tells the same stories from our Howard days. 9 o'clock coffee break. The crew gathered in the break room while I made a show of reviewing papers. Perfect timing. Oh, before I forget, got my annual checkup results. I produced the medical report Roger's doctor friend had crafted, completely fake, but Michael wouldn't know that. Doctor says my heart's stronger than men 20 years younger. Blood pressure perfect. Might live to 90 at this rate. Tommy Martinez, our foreman, clapped my shoulder. That's fantastic, Mr. H. My old man barely made it to 70. Michael's coffee mug paused halfway to his lips. That beautiful moment of disappointment, quickly hidden, but not quickly enough. That's great, Dad. Really great. Even said I could start jogging again, thinking about training for that senior marathon in Indianapolis. I watched him process this information, calculating how long he'd have to wait for natural causes. Something wrong with the inventory, son? You look concerned. Yeah, no, just spreadsheet errors. I should check the warehouse. He abandoned his coffee, practically fled the room. Through the window, I watched him make a phone call in the parking lot, gesturing angrily. Brett Miller, I'd bet my company on it. 2:00. Downtown law office, but not Morrison and Associates. This building had a back entrance, discreet parking. The notary Roger recommended waited in a conference room that smelled like old leather and older money. Mrs. Chen, 70s, sharp eyes behind thick glasses. She'd handled delicate matters for 40 years. Mr. Harrison, I've reviewed your documents. This trust structure is unusual. But legal? Completely. Upon your natural death, everything transfers to your son. However, if he's convicted of any crime against you, fraud, assault, attempted murder, the trust activates immediately. Assets go to the designated charities and education fund. I signed where she indicated, each signature another nail in Michael's coffin. What if he contests it? He can try, but these documents are time-stamped, notarized, and backed by video evidence of your mental competency. She gestured to the camera in the corner. I've seen many inheritance disputes, Mr. Harrison. This is bulletproof. Evening found me in a parking garage with Roger, reviewing surveillance footage on his tablet. Brett Miller, grainy but recognizable, stumbling out of McCready's bar. Same routine, 5 nights straight. The man was dissolving in alcohol and fear. He's ready to crack, Roger observed. Keeps checking over his shoulder. Called Michael 17 times yesterday. Michael's not answering. Good, let him sweat. I studied another photo. Brett at an ATM, looking haggard. What about Michael? Getting desperate. He's been researching other methods online. Subtle ones, natural-looking accidents. My blood chilled, but I kept my voice steady. Then we accelerate the timeline. Later that night, I watched the camera feed from home. Michael had let himself in with his spare key, which I'd deliberately not changed. He went straight for my car in the garage, sliding underneath with a flashlight. The brake lines, perfect and untampered, must have confused him. He emerged, oil-stained and frustrated, kicking my toolbox hard enough to scatter wrenches. His phone call came through the audio feed clearly. It didn't work. He's fine. No, I don't know how. Just give me time to figure out another way. Murder. My son was discussing my murder like a business transaction. The boy who'd cried when our dog died, who'd made me Father's Day cards with crayon hearts, was shopping for ways to kill me. The feed switched to my study. Michael at my computer, typing passwords he thought I didn't know he knew. He pulled up recent document access logs, forehead creasing. The trust documents weren't there. Mrs. Chen had made sure of that. But he could see I'd been accessing financial records, insurance policies. His confusion shifted to suspicion, then to something else. Fear? Or just better calculation? Come on, son. Make your next move. Show me how far you're willing to go. April 1st. No joke about this day. A week had passed since Michael discovered my document access, and he'd been watching me like a hawk stalking a rabbit. Except, this rabbit had teeth. I maintained my routine perfectly. Morning coffee at Murphy's, afternoon visits to job sites, even jogging past his apartment complex every evening at 6:30. Let him see me, healthy, vibrant, nowhere near death's door. Today's performance would be special. Mr. Thompson would arrive at 10 sharp. 9:45. I arranged papers on my desk, angling them so Michael could glimpse them from his office. Bank letterheads, visible but not quite readable. The bait was set. Roger's actor friend was perfect. Silver-haired, Brooks Brothers suit, leather briefcase that screamed authority. He walked through our door at exactly 10, voice carrying just enough for Michael to hear. "Mr. Harrison, we need to discuss your son's loan applications." My feigned shock could have won an Oscar. "What loan applications?" "Perhaps we should speak privately." But Thompson didn't lower his voice enough. "Perfect. No need. This is my business. My son works here." "What loan applications?" Thompson spread documents across my desk. Forged applications with Michael's signature, his real signature, captured from legitimate documents and reproduced flawlessly. $280,000 in gambling debts, itemized. Rising Sun Casino, $75,000. Private poker games, $110,000. Sports betting, $95,000. Michael burst through my door so fast he nearly tripped. "That's private information. You can't—" "Mr. Harrison," Thompson continued smoothly, "these creditors are becoming insistent. They've indicated they'll take alternative measures if payment isn't received soon." I let my shoulders sag, aged 10 years and 10 seconds. The disappointment in my voice was real, just not for the reasons Michael thought. "Thank you, Mr. Thompson. I'll handle this. The creditors expect resolution within 2 weeks." Thompson gathered his papers, nodded to Michael, and left with theatrical precision. Silence filled my office like poisonous gas. Michael stood frozen, mouth opening and closing without sound. I stared at my hands, counting to 30 before speaking. "Why didn't you come to me?" "It's nothing. I'm handling it." "280,000 is nothing?" I finally looked at him. His face was pale, sweating despite the cool morning. "How long, Michael? How long have you been gambling away our future?" "Our future? It's my life." "Funded by my company. Or did you think I wouldn't notice 40,000 missing from accounts payable?" April 3rd, evening. Michael showed up at my house, uninvited but not unexpected. I'd set 2 plates already, salmon defrosting since morning. He found me in the kitchen, chopping vegetables with careful precision. "We need to talk," he said. "Wash your hands. Dinner's almost ready." We ate in silence for 5 minutes. Let him suffer. Finally, I set down my fork. "I'll give you 140,000. His head snapped up, hope blooming. "Dad, Conditions. You sign away inheritance rights. Everything goes to a trust for your future children's education. You keep working, draw your salary, but the company and assets pass to charity when I die." His fork clattered against fine china, his mother's china. "You're cutting me off? Your only son? I'm saving you from yourself and protecting what I built. What you built for me. For the son I thought I raised, not the one who steals from his father." Truth wrapped in performance. "You have 72 hours to decide." April 5th through 7th. Roger's surveillance showed Brett Miller unraveling beautifully. Anonymous letters arrived at his apartment, his work, even tucked under his windshield wiper. "I know what you did to the brake lines. The police will know soon." The third included a grainy photo of Brett at the shop that night, timestamp visible. Roger's cameras caught Brett drinking himself stupid at McCready's, hands shaking so bad he could barely hold his glass. He called Michael obsessively, 23 times on April 6th alone. Michael ignored every call. By April 8th, Michael had graduated to stalking me. His challenger appeared in my rearview mirror every morning, followed me to the bank, the lawyer's office, my doctor's appointment. I led him on deliberate routes, stopping at places that would fuel his paranoia. The insurance office, the police station, though I only went in to chat with an old friend about parking tickets. April 9th, I stopped at Riverside Cemetery. Let him watch me kneel at Patricia's grave, my wife of 38 years. Let him see me place fresh flowers, speak to her stone. Maybe somewhere in his twisted heart, he'd remember the mother who'd loved him unconditionally. The grandmother his future children would never know because their father chose greed over family. He watched from his car, engine running. Through my peripheral vision, I caught him wiping his face. Guilt? Or just calculating how soon he'd be visiting my grave? April 10th, morning. I called an all-hands meeting in the main conference room. 15 employees, including Michael, time for public pressure. "I'm restructuring company ownership," I announced. No preamble, no warmth. Effective immediately, I'm establishing an employee profit-sharing trust. You've all earned it. Murmurs of surprise, except from Michael. His face went from pale to red to purple. You can't do this. I'm your son. Which is why you have a choice. Accept my offer by tomorrow noon or find your own solution to your problems. Dad, please. Meeting adjourned. He stormed out, slamming the door hard enough to rattle windows. The other employees studied their shoes, uncomfortable witnesses to family destruction. Tommy Martinez lingered, concern creasing his weathered face. Boss, is everything okay? Everything's exactly as it should be, Tommy. 10:43 p.m. My phone buzzed with an unknown number. I'd been expecting this call for days. Mr. Harrison? Brett Miller's voice, slurred with alcohol and thick with fear. I need to tell you something, about your son, about what he asked me to do. Come to my house, Brett. We'll talk. He said it would look like an accident, said no one would know, but I can't sleep, can't eat. I see your face everywhere. Brett, come over. We'll sort this out. Through my window, headlights swept across the driveway. Not Michael's Challenger. A beat-up Honda Civic held together by rust and prayer. Brett Miller, ready to confess. Ready to hand me the final piece of evidence I needed. The first domino falls. Soon, they all would. Brett Miller stood in my doorway at 11:45, swaying like wheat in a storm. His breath reeked of whiskey and regret. The Honda Civic behind him ticked as its engine cooled, one headlight dimmer than the other. I guided him inside, my hand steady on his elbow, while my other hand activated the recording app on my phone. Coffee, I said, not asking. The kitchen fluorescence made him look worse. Skin gray, eyes bloodshot, 3 days of stubble. He collapsed into a chair while I worked the machine, letting silence do what words couldn't. Mr. Harrison, His voice cracked. Tears started falling, real ones, not the manipulative kind I'd seen from Michael lately. Your brakes. Michael paid me $5,000 to cut your brake lines. The coffee maker gurgled. I kept my back to him, counting breaths. 1, 2, 3. I know, Brett. His sob was ugly, raw. How long have you known? Long enough? I set the mug in front of him, black, strong enough to strip paint. What matters now is what you do next. He left at 2 a.m, shoulders lighter, but still broken. I called Roger before his taillights disappeared. Brett confessed. We have audio. Good. Michael's been to his apartment 3 times this week. He's getting desperate. 4 days passed in calculated normalcy. I attended meetings, reviewed contracts, jogged my regular route. Through my hidden cameras, I watched Michael's agitation grow. He'd started checking my car daily, studying my movements, making notes. Brett hadn't shown up for work since our talk, calling in with increasingly creative illnesses. April 15th, 8 p.m. Roger's surveillance footage played on my tablet, showing Brett's apartment. Michael arrived carrying a bottle of Jameson. Expensive stuff, not Brett's usual rot gut. The audio was crystal clear through Roger's parabolic microphone. Brett paced his cramped living room, waving the anonymous letters. They know everything. These came to my work, my home. We're finished. Nobody knows anything. Michael's voice was ice, pouring generous shots. These are just empty threats. Drink. What if they have proof? What if nothing? You did a job, got paid, end of story. Nobody can prove anything unless you talk. Michael raised his glass. To keeping our mouths shut. April 17th showed me something that chilled my blood more than the murder plot. Through Michael's hacked laptop camera, I watched him research. Not brake failures this time. His search history read like a poisoner's handbook. Digitalis, potassium chloride, insulin overdoses. He made notes in a small notebook, careful printing that I recognized from his childhood homework. Heart medication interaction, perfect cover, headed 1 page. He made a phone call, speaking in code. That special supplement we discussed? Yeah, the natural one. How much for a month's supply? April 19th, Roger followed Michael to the industrial district. Warehouses and auto body shops, the kind of places where cash was king and questions were unwelcome. Michael met someone in a parking lot. Quick exchange, small vial for envelope. Roger's long-range camera caught it all. The footage that made me vomit showed Michael testing the substance. A stray cat. Friendly thing that probably trusted humans. Michael mixed something in milk, watched the animal drink. 15 minutes later, it convulsed and died. My son watched with clinical detachment, making notes about dosage and timing. "We need to accelerate," I told Roger. "He's escalating." We spent April 20th and 21st preparing. Roger's actor friend, the one who'd played the banker, now became Dr. Richards. We rehearsed symptoms, practiced my deterioration. I switched my real heart medication for vitamins that looked identical. Micro cameras went into the pill bottles, tiny things that would capture every tampering. April 23rd, I arrived at the shop late, making sure to pause at the door, hand briefly touching my chest. The performance had begun. I sat heavily in my chair, breathing deliberately shallow. Several employees noticed, but Michael's reaction was different. His eyes sharpened like a predator sensing wounded prey. "Just feeling tired lately, son." I rubbed my chest again, subtle but noticeable. Maybe age is finally catching up. His concern was Oscar-worthy. "You should see a doctor, Dad. Your health is everything." Tommy Martinez agreed. "He's right, boss. You've been looking pale." April 24th, Dr. Richards arrived at the office, his performance even better than his banker routine. White coat, stethoscope, the whole costume. He examined me in the main office where everyone could see and hear. "Your heart rhythm is concerning, Mr. Harrison." His frown was perfectly calibrated. "I'm prescribing new medication. Take these twice daily without fail." "I'll pick up the prescription," Michael volunteered immediately. "Too quickly." "Save you the trip, Dad." My gratitude was genuinely disgusted, but he'd never know. "Thanks, son. What would I do without you?" That evening, Roger's cameras captured everything. Michael in his bathroom, measuring poison with a syringe, injecting it carefully into my pill capsules. He resealed the bottle with professional precision. He'd practiced this. The final footage showed him in his mirror, practicing his concerned son act. "Dad, you need to take your medicine. I'm worried about you." April 25th, 10 p.m. I held the poison pills, Roger on speakerphone confirming everything was recorded. "Video quality is perfect. We've got him." Tomorrow, I would die, temporarily, a performance to end all performances. My phone rang. Michael, right on schedule. "Dad, how about family dinner tomorrow night? Been too long since we connected." The pills rattled in my hand. "Sure, son. Tomorrow night sounds perfect." May 1st arrived with spring rain and calculated deterioration, a week of taking poisoned pills, actually Roger's harmless substitutes, while displaying increasing symptoms. Stumbling at work, forgetting names, clutching my chest when Michael watched. The hardest part was maintaining the act when alone, knowing Michael might have placed his own cameras. 2 p.m., the construction office, the culmination of my performance. I stood from my desk, swayed, then clutched my chest with genuine-looking panic. The crash when I fell was real. My knee would bruise for weeks. But the gasps from my employees, Michael's immediate reaction, checking his watch even as he rushed over, that was worth any pain. "Call 911, someone shouted. Michael already had his phone out, playing the perfect son while texting someone. "It's happening." The paramedics Roger arranged were thorough professionals who happened to be off-duty cops earning extra money. They knew the score, but played it straight. Michael insisted on riding along, holding my hand while probably calculating insurance payouts. Fort Wayne Medical Center's emergency room was chaos, which helped our plan. Real doctors, genuinely confused by my symptoms, ran tests that showed nothing conclusive. Dr. Richards arrived as a consulting cardiologist, adding just enough medical confusion to keep everyone guessing. What I hadn't expected was Sarah arriving with her children. Michael's kids, my grandchildren, I barely knew anymore. 7 and 5, confused and scared, seeing their grandfather dying. Sarah's eyes were red but suspicious, watching Michael's performance. Michael pulled her aside near the vending machines, their voices carrying despite his attempts at discretion. "The doctors aren't optimistic. We should prepare the kids." "You're awfully calm for someone losing his father," Sarah observed. "Someone has to be strong for the family." May 3rd. My hospital room at 3 a.m. Michael thought I was unconscious, heavily medicated. He pulled a water bottle from his bag, different from the ones in the room. "Dad, you need to stay hydrated." He added something from a small vial, swirling it carefully. I knocked it over with a weak gesture, water spreading across the nightstand. His frustrated curse was barely audible, but the cameras caught it all. He cleaned up quickly, professionally, like someone who'd done this before. May 4th, Sarah met Michael in the hospital cafeteria. She'd started recording their conversations on her phone, hidden in her purse. Smart woman. I'd underestimated her. "How long does he have?" she asked, stirring coffee she never drank. "Doctors say days, maybe a week." "You seem remarkably calm about losing your father." Michael's mask slipped for just a moment. "We'll be fine. The insurance and inheritance will set us up for life." "Us? We're divorced, remember?" "The kids. I meant the kids." May 6th brought frustration. The detective I'd called reviewed my evidence, shaking his head. "It's circumstantial at best, Mr. Harrison. No prosecutor would touch this." "He's literally poisoning me." "You're taking vitamins. He's putting something in pills, sure, but we can't prove intent without testing the actual substance, and we can't get a warrant based on this." The legal system I'd always trusted was failing me. Time for escalation. May 8th, night shift. Michael had gotten bolder, bribing a nurse named Jennifer. Roger caught the $100 bills changing hands. She left him alone with my IV, and he switched the bags while I pretended to sleep. My eyes cracked open just enough to watch him work, efficient and practiced. Roger recorded everything from the next room, dressed as a janitor. Michael checked my pulse, disappointed at its steady rhythm. "Why won't you just die?" he whispered. "Because I'm not ready, son. Not until you pay for what you've become." May 9th, 3 a.m. Sarah arrived unexpectedly, using her spare key to the room Michael didn't know she had. She caught him adjusting my IV pump, his hands where they shouldn't be. "What are you doing to the machines?" His lie came smooth as silk. The alarm kept going off, just adjusting the volume so Dad can sleep. Sarah's suspicion was obvious now. After Michael left, she texted someone. Roger later confirmed it was him. "He's trying again tonight." May 10th started with Michael's boldest attempt yet. He'd prepared something in a syringe, approaching my IV port. But Roger had anticipated this. The monitors suddenly screamed, bringing nurses running. Michael barely managed to pocket the syringe before they flooded in. The head nurse found the tampered IV line, her face grave. Security was called. Michael talked his way out with tears and confusion, the concerned son overwhelmed by grief. But the hospital administrator was now involved, protocols activated. Then, miraculously, I began recovering. My vitals improved, confusion clearing. Michael's desperation was visible now, his mask cracking. He knew something was wrong, but couldn't figure out what. Sarah confronted me that afternoon, closing the door firmly. "I know you know. No point in pretending anymore, not with her. Help me stop him." She pulled out her phone, showing me recordings. Michael discussing my death, checking insurance policies, asking about organ donation value. "I have everything. Started recording after he asked me about your life insurance beneficiaries." My phone buzzed. Roger's text made my genuine smile the first in weeks. "Brett went to police. Full confession. They're issuing warrant." The game was almost over. Michael had lost. He just didn't know it yet. Sarah drove me home from the hospital in silence, her knuckles white on the steering wheel. May 10th, evening, the spring air heavy with coming rain. Brett had gone to the police that morning. Roger confirmed it with a text. But the bureaucracy of justice moved slowly. Michael had called 17 times. I let them all go to voicemail. His Challenger sat in my driveway like a predator waiting to strike. Sarah's intake of breath was sharp. "Should I call someone?" "No, this needs to happen." Michael stood from my porch steps as we approached, his face a mask I didn't recognize. 5 days of planning, watching, waiting. It had aged him years. Good. Let him feel a fraction of what I'd endured. 5 days passed in careful choreography. I maintained my weakened act, shuffling steps, trembling hands when I held my coffee cup, labored breathing when climbing stairs. Michael visited daily, bringing groceries I didn't need, checking for opportunities that wouldn't come. Sarah played her part perfectly, watching him with the suspicion of a protective ex-wife. May 17th, I met with Morrison at his law office while Michael thought I was napping. The trust documents were ironclad now. Everything transferring to an educational fund for my grandchildren, activated the moment Michael was convicted of any crime against me. Morrison's expression was grim as he notarized the final pages. "Are you certain about this, Walter? There's no going back." My son made his choice. Now I'm making mine. May 18th morning. Time to set the trap. I called Michael, letting exhaustion color my voice. We need to have a family meeting. His eagerness was obscene. About the estate? Finally, Dad. When? May 20th, Morrison's office. Bring Sarah and the children. The kids? Why? This concerns everyone's future. I hung up before he could probe further. May 19th was preparation. Roger installed 3 more cameras in Morrison's conference room, angles covering every seat. Morrison briefed his security team. 2 former cops who understood domestic situations could explode without warning. Sarah confirmed she'd attend, her phone already set to record. I spent the evening practicing in my mirror, rehearsing the calm I'd need when facing my son's rage. Patricia's photo watched from my dresser. What would you think of what your son has become? What would you think of what I'm about to do? May 20th, 2 p.m. Morrison and Associates' conference room smelled of lemon polish and old leather. The mahogany table reflected the portraits of long-dead partners who'd built this firm on trust and honor, concepts my son had abandoned. Michael arrived 30 minutes early. Through the camera feed on my phone, I watched him try to read documents on Morrison's desk, his frustration growing when he found them face down. Sarah entered with my grandchildren at exactly 2, positioning herself and the kids near the door. Smart woman. The children looked confused, dressed in their Sunday clothes for an occasion they didn't understand. I entered last, still playing frail, gripping the doorframe for support that I didn't need. Michael's eyes tracked my every movement, calculating, measuring my remaining strength. Morrison began with formalities, his voice steady as granite. Mr. Harrison has asked me to read a prepared statement regarding the disposition of his assets. Michael leaned forward, barely containing his anticipation. Effective immediately, all business assets of Harrison Construction, all personal property, and all financial accounts are transferred to an irrevocable educational trust for the benefit of Michael Harrison's children. Silence. Then understanding dawned on Michael's face like a nuclear sunrise. The transfer is complete and cannot be reversed under any circumstances. Michael's chair flew backward as he stood, hitting the wall with a crack that made the children jump. "You can't do this! I'm your son! That company is mine!" His fist hit the table hard enough to make coffee cups dance. Morrison stepped back, his hand moving toward the panic button under his desk. I remained seated, maintaining the calm that I knew would enrage him more than any words. 40 years I've worked for you." Michael's voice broke, rage and desperation fighting for control. "Every summer since I was 14, you promised me. I promised the son I raised, not the man you've become." He leaned across the table, his face inches from mine. I could smell the alcohol on his breath. Liquid courage for what he'd planned to do after this meeting, perhaps. "You'll regret this, old man. I know what you're doing. This isn't over." Sarah was already pulling the children out, her arms around them protectively. 7-year-old Marcus looked back, confusion and fear on his face. "Why is Daddy yelling?" The door closed on Sarah's gentle response. Morrison's hand found the panic button. 2 security guards entered within seconds, their presence filling the doorway. Michael swept papers off the table, law books crashing to the floor. "This isn't finished," he stormed out, shoulder-checking one guard who wisely didn't respond. The next 4 days brought escalating desperation. Morrison provided an affidavit about Michael's threats. Security footage was copied to multiple drives, stored in different locations. Roger compiled everything into a package that would damn Michael thoroughly. I changed every lock, installed additional cameras, and began sleeping with baseball bat beside my bed, the one Michael had used in Little League. His texts evolved from rage to bargaining to threats. "You're destroying our family. Please, Dad, let's talk. You'll pay for this. I know where you live." May 25th, midnight. The pounding on my door shook the entire frame. Michael's voice, raw and slurred. "Open up! I know you're awake. You can't steal my life." Neighbors' lights flickered on. Mrs. Patterson next door was already on her phone. I could see her through the window. Michael kicked my door, leaving a dent in the solid oak. "That's mine. The company. The money. You owe me." Police sirens grew closer. 2 officers approached, hands on their weapons but not drawn. I watched through my camera as Michael tried to explain his rights, his words tangling together in drunk fury. I opened the door just wide enough to hand Officer Reynolds the restraining order paperwork I'd filed 3 days earlier. Michael's face when he saw it was worth every sleepless night. "This isn't finished," he said as they led him away. Not yelling now. Quiet. Promised. "You're going to pay for this, old man." 2 a.m. My phone rang. Brett's number. "He knows I talked." Brett's voice was pure terror. "Michael knows. He called. Said he's coming for me. What do I—" Glass shattered on Brett's end. Screaming. The line went dead. I dialed 911 with steady fingers while my heart raced. "There's an assault in progress at 427 Maple Street, apartment 12. The victim is a witness in an attempted murder case. Send units immediately." June 1st arrived with the kind of humid heat that made Fort Wayne feel like a swamp. A week had passed since Brett's emergency call. He'd survived Michael's attack, but barely. Broken ribs, concussion, a fear that would never fully heal. The police had him in protective custody now, and Michael was out on bail for assault charges. His girlfriend's brother had posted the $50,000, money that should have been impossible for them to have. Detective Morrison's office at the Fort Wayne Police Department hadn't changed in the 20 years I'd known him. Same cluttered desk, same coffee-stained carpet, same skeptical expression. But that expression shifted as I laid out my evidence in organized binders, each tab labeled, each document in chronological order. Video surveillance of the brake tampering discussion. Tab 1. Financial records showing embezzlement. Tab 2. Poison purchase and testing footage. Tab 3. Hospital tampering recordings. Tab 4. Witness statements from Sarah Harrison. Tab 5. Brett Miller's confession and evidence. Tab 6. Morrison's thick fingers turned pages slowly, deliberately. His eyes widened at certain points. The poison testing on the cat, Michael switching my IV bags, the clear audio of him discussing my death with Brett. "This changes everything, Mr. Harrison." He closed the final binder with the care of someone handling explosives. "This is attempted murder, conspiracy, fraud. Your son is looking at 25 to life." The next few days showed Michael's world collapsing in real time. Roger's surveillance caught him at 3 different banks, trying to withdraw large sums. Account frozen. Account frozen. Account frozen. He sold his Challenger to a used car dealer for half its value, needing quick cash. He booked a flight to Mexico for June 7th, immediately flagged by police thanks to Morrison's alert. Roger's cameras in Michael's apartment showed him packing frantically, throwing clothes into garbage bags, searching for his passport with increasing desperation. June 6th, I arrived at Harrison Construction before dawn. The master computer recognized my fingerprints. Michael never knew I'd maintained admin access. Every password changed, every account locked, his security badge deactivated. When he arrived at 7:30, expecting to raid the petty cash, he found himself locked out of the building he'd believed would be his. "Let me in!" He pounded on the glass doors while my employees watched from inside, their faces mixing sympathy with disgust. They knew now. Everyone knew. Tommy Martinez opened the door just enough to speak. "Mr. Harrison says you're no longer welcome here. Please leave before we call the police." The parking lot confrontation was brief but captured perfectly on 3 different cameras. Michael's threats, his admission that I owed him for years of work, his promise that he'd take what was his, one way or another. June 8th brought Brett's full testimony from witness protection. The prosecutor, Janet Williams, let me watch through one-way glass. Brett looked smaller somehow, diminished by truth-telling. But his words were clear, precise, damning. Michael approached me on March 10th, said his father was worth more dead than alive, offered $5,000 up front, $50,000 after it looked like an accident. He had diagrams, knew which brake lines to cut when his father would be driving alone. The text messages Brett had saved were projected on the wall, Michael's words glowing larger than life. "Make it look like wear and tear. Old men die in car accidents all the time." June 10th, the police searched Michael's apartment with a warrant. I watched the body camera footage later, the poison hidden in his bathroom, behind toilet cleaner, insurance applications with my forged signature, his laptop search history, how to make murder look natural, untraceable poisons, how long before inheritance pays out. They found the loan shark threats too, Tommy Fish, Brooklyn Mike, people who broke legs for missing payments. Suddenly, Michael's desperation made perfect sense. It was them or me, and he chose me to die. June 12th, Michael tried to run. TSA caught his fake ID immediately, a poor forgery he'd bought online. Airport security footage showed him bolting through Terminal A, knocking over a family's luggage, leaping over chairs. Gate B12 is where they tackled him. 3 officers bringing him down while passengers filmed with their phones. The local news ran the footage that evening. Local businessman's son arrested in attempted patricide case. My son, face down on airport carpet, hands cuffed behind his back, screaming about his rights while strangers watched and judged. June 13th, Prosecutor Williams laid out the case in her conference room. Multiple counts of attempted murder, conspiracy, fraud, elder abuse, embezzlement. With his priors for the gambling debts and the assault on Mr. Miller, we're looking at 25 to life, possibly without parole. When's the trial? September, most likely, unless he takes a plea deal. June 14th, 1 p.m. The collect call came while I was reviewing construction bids. The automated voice asked if I'd accept. I almost didn't. "Dad, please!" Michael's voice was broken glass and desperation. "I need bail money, just enough to get out. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." Silence stretched between us, filled with 40 years of memories. Teaching him to ride a bike, his college graduation, his wedding to Sarah. The moment I realized he wanted me dead. "You made your choices, son. Don't do this. You're destroying me. I'm your blood." "Goodbye, Michael." His curses were cut off when I hung up. My hands didn't shake. My heart rate stayed steady. The man screaming in that jail cell wasn't my son anymore. My son died the moment he decided I should, too. That evening, Sarah brought the grandchildren for dinner. We didn't mention Michael. The kids were quiet but adjusting, understanding in the way children do that something fundamental had changed. Sarah had filed for full custody with my support, financial and otherwise. We were setting the table when Roger called, urgency sharp in his voice. Michael made bail somehow. His cellmate's brother posted it, 100,000 cash. My blood chilled. How? The brother runs drugs apparently. Michael promised him something. "Walter, there's more." Roger paused. "He bought a gun. Parking lot sale, no background check. My guy saw it happen an hour ago." Police sirens were already growing closer, but I saw him first. Michael's silhouette in my backyard, moving toward the back door. The baseball bat was in my hand before I'd made the conscious decision to grab it. Sarah had already moved the children to the bathroom, calling 911. Smart woman, always thinking ahead, just like I'd learned to do. The back door handle turned. Locked, but locks only delayed the inevitable when someone was determined enough. Spotlights turned my backyard into noon at midnight. June 15th, the humid air thick with anticipation and the metallic taste of fear. Through the kitchen window, I watched Michael pace by my back door, the gun visible in his waistband. 20 feet separated us. Father and son, victim and would-be killer. "Michael Harrison!" The SWAT negotiator's voice boomed through a megaphone. "This is Fort Wayne Police. Drop your weapon and step away from the house." My son froze. Through the glass, I saw the moment reality crashed through his rage. Surrounded. No escape. The gun lifted slowly from his waistband, not to aim, but to drop. It clattered on my porch as his hands rose above his head. "Down on your knees, hands behind your head." Officers swarmed him like antibodies attacking an infection. The arrest was swift, professional, almost anticlimactic after months of elaborate schemes. They cuffed him for violating the restraining order and illegal weapon possession. As they led him away, he turned toward my window. Our eyes met. His were hollow, defeated. Mine were steady, resolved. 4 days blurred together in a haze of legal procedures. Michael was held without bail. The weapon possession combined with the restraining order violation made him a flight risk. I spent those days at the prosecutor's office, providing evidence like ammunition for a war. Brett testified to the grand jury via video link from witness protection, his voice shaking but clear. The prosecutor, Jennifer Chen, built our case with the precision of a surgeon. June 20th, 6 a.m. Detective Morrison had invited me to observe the arrest from a safe distance. I sat in an unmarked car across from Michael's apartment complex, watching justice unfold. The SWAT van arrived silent and black, disgorging officers like shadows. They moved with practiced efficiency to his door. The battering ram's impact echoed across the parking lot. "Police! Search warrant!" Through binoculars, I watched my son stumble from his bedroom in boxers, confused and disheveled. They cuffed him immediately, his protests muffled by the apartment walls. Neighbors appeared at windows, phones recording the man who'd tried to murder his father being dragged away. Michael Harrison, you're under arrest for attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, aggravated assault, embezzlement, and fraud. Detective Morrison's voice carried clearly as they brought Michael out. Each charge was another nail in his coffin. "You set me up!" Michael screamed, spotting me in the car. "This is entrapment, Dad. You planned this." The irony wasn't lost on me. He was right. I had planned this. Every move, every piece of evidence, every trap. The difference was, my plan was legal. Officers emerged from his apartment carrying boxes of evidence. One held up a bag containing 3 more guns, more charges. The hole he'd dug just got deeper. The media had gathered by the time we reached the station. Michael tried to hide his face during the perp walk, but the cameras caught everything. The mighty Harrison name, built over 40 years, destroyed in 40 seconds of footage. I watched from Morrison's car, feeling nothing but cold satisfaction. Booking was procedural. Fingerprints, mugshots, the orange jumpsuit that would become his new uniform. Through one-way glass, I watched him demand a lawyer over and over, as if legal representation could undo months of recorded crimes. June 21st, I sat with Assistant DA Chen in her office, reviewing our arsenal of evidence. She'd organized everything into a prosecution masterpiece. The video of Michael discussing brake tampering played on her laptop. His voice, planning my death, filled the sterile office. "This is airtight," she said, clicking through poison purchase receipts. "With Brett's testimony in these recordings, we're looking at life without parole if he doesn't plea." The initial court appearance on June 22nd drew media attention. The courtroom was packed, reporters sketching since cameras weren't allowed. Michael shuffled in wearing shackles, the orange jumpsuit hanging loose on his frame. He'd lost weight. Good. His public defender, a tired-looking woman named Patricia Holmes, requested bail. Chen stood immediately. "Your Honor, the defendant attempted to murder his father multiple times, assaulted a witness, and was arrested with illegal weapons while violating a restraining order. He's a clear danger to the community and a flight risk." Judge Martinez reviewed the evidence summary, his expression darkening with each page. Bail is set at $500,000, cash only. Michael's head snapped toward me. Even from across the courtroom, I could see his desperation. His lawyer approached me afterward. "Mr. Harrison, your son needs—" "No." The word was granite. "He's your son." He was. Now he's a man who tried to murder me, repeatedly. Her shock at my coldness was predictable. She didn't know what it felt like to watch your child plan your death like a business transaction. The investigation expanded over the following week. The FBI joined when they discovered Michael had crossed state lines to buy poison. The casino connections ran deeper than expected. He owed money to people who made loan sharks look friendly. Each revealed thread led to new charges. Financial fraud at the company, forged documents, embezzled funds spanning 2 years. June 29th, I visited him in county jail. Thick glass separated us, but nothing could bridge the chasm between father and son. He looked terrible, hollow cheeks, dead eyes, trembling hands. "Why?" His voice cracked through the phone. "Why are you doing this? You tried to kill me, Michael, multiple times." "I was desperate. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. You valued my death at $280,000. He slammed the phone down and left. I sat there for another minute, mourning the son I'd raised, not the monster in orange. That evening, Ada Chen called. "We're offering a plea deal, 20 years if he confesses to everything, no trial. What happens if he refuses? Trial. And with this evidence, likely life without parole." I stared at Patricia's photo on my mantle. What would she think of what our son had become? What would she think of what I'd done? "Let him choose," I said finally. "He's good at making choices." August 1st arrived with courtroom drama. The meeting room smelled of burnt coffee and desperation. Michael sat across from Ada Chen, his lawyer beside him, the plea deal on the table between them. 20 years, out in 15 with good behavior. He'd be 55 when released, still young enough to rebuild. "I'm innocent." His voice was steady, but his hands shook. "This is a conspiracy. My father set me up. Chen shrugged. Then we go to trial, August 15th. Hope the jury sees it your way. She gathered her files with practiced indifference. Michael's lawyer grabbed his arm, whispering urgently, but he shook her off. I want a trial. I want everyone to know what he did to me. 2 weeks of preparation flew past. I reviewed testimony until I could recite it in my sleep. Sarah prepared the children, explaining in gentle terms why their father wouldn't be coming home. The media coverage intensified daily. Son tries to kill father for inheritance, made for irresistible headlines. August 15th, 9 a.m. The courtroom was standing room only. I sat in the front row, Sarah beside me, her hand occasionally squeezing mine in support. Michael entered in a suit his lawyer had provided, scanning the room for sympathy he wouldn't find. When our eyes met, I saw a flicker of the boy who used to run to me with scraped knees. Then it was gone. Ada Chen's opening statement was surgical. The evidence will show that Michael Harrison planned and attempted to murder his father multiple times. For money. For greed. For an inheritance he felt entitled to. The defense's opening was desperation wrapped in legal language. Walter Harrison is a master manipulator who orchestrated this entire scenario to destroy his son. Brett testified on August 16th. Despite witness protection, he looked terrified. His testimony was devastating. Dates, times, amounts, text messages displayed on the courtroom screens. Michael shook his head throughout, but the jury took extensive notes. They believed Brett. I could see it in their faces. My testimony came on August 17th. I'd practiced keeping my voice steady, but when I took the stand and saw Michael glaring at me, my composure almost cracked. Almost. He's still my son, I said when Chen asked how I felt. I'll always love the boy he was, but the man he became tried to murder me for money. Liar! Michael shot up from his chair. Judge Martinez's gavel cracked. Mr. Harrison, control yourself or you'll be removed. The evidence presentation took 2 days. Videos played on the courtroom screen. Michael discussing my murder, buying poison, testing it on that poor cat. The jury saw him switching my medication, tampering with hospital equipment. Several jurors looked sick. One elderly woman kept glancing at Michael with undisguised horror. Against his lawyer's advice, Michael took the stand on August 20th. His story was a rambling mess of accusations. I'd ruined his life, set him up to fail, wanted him dependent so I could control him. But when Chen cross-examined him, he contradicted himself repeatedly. Asked about the poison, he claimed it was for rats. The cat video played again. The jury wasn't buying it. Mr. Harrison, Chen asked quietly, did you try to kill your father? He deserved... Michael caught himself, but too late. He deserved what? Nothing. I didn't do anything. Closing arguments on August 21st felt like a formality. Chen methodically destroyed every defense claim. Michael's lawyer did her best with nothing to work with. Michael's anxiety was visible, leg bouncing, fingers drumming, sweat despite the air conditioning. The jury retired for deliberation. Sarah and I waited in the courthouse cafeteria, neither eating, both pretending to read newspapers. They returned after just 1 day. August 22nd, 2 p.m. Has the jury reached a verdict? We have, Your Honor. The forewoman stood, a middle-aged teacher who reminded me of Patricia. On the count of attempted murder in the first degree, we find the defendant guilty. Guilty, guilty, guilty. Each count, each charge, guilty. Michael collapsed in his chair. I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no sorrow, just empty finality. Sentencing came 3 days later. Michael's final plea for mercy was pathetic. Dad, please forgive me. I'm sorry. I was sick. The gambling, I couldn't stop. My victim impact statement was brief. He made his choice. Choices have consequences. Judge Martinez pronounced sentence with the weight it deserved. Michael Harrison, you're sentenced to 15 years minimum security, with possibility of parole in 10. 15 years. He'd be 50 when released. The children would be adults. I'd likely be dead from natural causes. That afternoon, I signed the final trust documents. Harrison Construction was officially held for my grandchildren's education. Sarah brought them for dinner that evening, our new tradition. Michael's chair sat empty, but the children's laughter filled the space. You saved them, Sarah said while the kids played in the yard. From him. from what he would have taught them. Marcus asked about the business over dessert. "Grandpa, will you teach me about building?" "I'll teach you about building right," I promised. Michael's photo lay face down on my desk. I'd decide what to do with it later. For now, it could stay buried, like the son I'd once known. A knock interrupted my thoughts. Roger entered, looking older but satisfied. "It's over, Walter. Finally over." "No," I said, watching my grandchildren through the window. "It's just beginning." If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left. Thank you for watching.